Okay, this is a CI Wicked Ward Transcendence with 200,000 armor, which sounds awesome. Build. We are a self-cast Toxic Rain build using Mirage Archer, Damage on Full Life, Toxic Rain, sure. And we're playing a Trickster, so we're not playing Mines, right? So we have our Ghost Shrouds. We have Ghost Dance, Patient Reaper, and Prolonged Pain. If I were life-based, I would be tempted to do the same thing. This is just like a super solid Ascendancy. Not aggro, not phase aggro. Good. What do we have here? Fizz gain is extra chaos. It's a little weird here. Cruelty, ideation. Stalwart Commander gives us increased effective discipline. Fine. And looks like uncompromising and sublime form. +5 to all elemental resistances. Grace. Are we Grace as well? Let's take a look here. Aspect of the Spider, Toxic Rain, Determination, Grace. Wow, really? We somehow Iron Reflexes. Syntrex Skin of Lords. We are Iron Reflexes. Wow, that's actually kind of sweet, isn't it? That is super interesting. So, in terms of armor and Transcendence and making use of the reduced mana reservation and Stalwart Commander, I think this build is very interesting, right? We have a cool layer of defense, but that's not why I wanted to talk about this build in particular, right? We can go over the Transcendence stuff. I think that's really cool, and now that I'm looking at it, nice. But let's talk about the lack of DPS on this build. So Toxic Rain, you can come into the configuration tab for Toxic Rain. You always turn up the number of overlapping pods. Remember, the number of overlapping pods, you get to set this by yourself, right? So if you're gonna have 10 or if you're gonna have 5 overlapping pods is a function of, are you using Conk Effect? Do you have any increased area of effect modifiers? How many pods do you have out at a time? Are you a miner build? Can you have like multiple mines going at the same time? So maybe even like, what is the character model of the enemy that you're fighting? Against Kitava, maybe it's easier than against like one small enemy like Shaper or something. So even character model affects your Toxic Rain DPS in that way. But that's not the point of this conversation here. What I want to point out to you is the choice of using Darkscorn for our defenses here, right? So Darkscorn, before Legion League, Darkscorn didn't have the poison modifier on it. And Darkscorn was only ever used in very niche scenarios because it has physical damage taken as chaos. So if you are a life-based, divine flesh, pathfinder, poison scourge arrow build, that build, one of the reasons that it's so good is that Darkscorn gets to be used in order to mitigate physical damage, physical taken as chaos, right? And then you have like 80, 85, maybe 90 maximum chaos resistance, right? So for us, we're CI, which means that the physical mitigation from this is awesome. We can see in the configuration tab that we still don't have any physical mitigation. Yikes. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. More to the point, Darkscorn is a bow that you can use for an attack-based build because it has physical damage on it. It has IPD, increased physical damage. It has flat fizz. It has attack speed. It has the kinds of things that make you want to use it for basically just one build, Poison Scourge Arrow. This build is perfect for Poison Scourge Arrow. When it comes to other builds, you might think like, okay, maybe I want this other thing. Maybe I want crit multi. Maybe I want crit chance. Maybe I want, you know, damage per dexterity. There's all sorts of other things when you talk about other builds. So for us, if we're playing Toxic Rain, I personally don't think of Toxic Rain as an attack. I think about it more as a spell. It doesn't really scale with crit at all. It doesn't really scale with accuracy. It doesn't really scale with hitting things because for the most part, when you're playing Toxic Rain, you are extremely likely only caring about one thing. You're only caring about the number of overlapping pods, and you're caring about the fact that you are placing a AoE on the ground that deals damage over time. So because of that, because we're not caring about accuracy, because we don't care about hitting things, we don't really care about poison, because poison is applied by a hit. You can't poison with a damage over time effect. So whenever I see a build that tries to combine Toxic Rain with accuracy in order to hit and also deal poison, when you combine all those things together, it's like, well, we kind of had too many things going on. we've diverted, probably unnecessarily, from the tried and true formula of, you know, just attack quickly and have a bunch of damage over time going on, and we're trying to also combine poison. I see this happen with new players a lot when they're trying to combine poison with damage over time, because it's like, well, poison is damage over time, and damage over time is damage over time, so they're kind of the same, but because we need accuracy, because we're scaling them in different ways, because like one's kind of an attack-based thing, and one is more of a spell, they're different enough that it's worth just skipping it. When we talk about a Toxic Rain bow, Toxic Rain bows also or often have things that say +1 to level of socketed gems, +2 socketed bow gems, or even better, +2 level of socketed support gems as a craft on it. Maybe +1 dex gems, maybe some attack speed, maybe some stuff like that, right? So that's the kind of thing that a Toxic Rain bow looks like. Like maybe if you're attacking, you want attack speed. Maybe if you're a miner, you don't care about the attack speed. But for the most part, Toxic Rain bows look the same. It's just a bunch of plus gems, chaos dot multi, generic dot multi, stuff like that. So let's take a look more into the build, keeping in mind what we've already said, right? So avoidment vicious, this stuff all looks good. I like this. Auras, we have a super cool layer of defense, which I'm actually really into. Wither spell totem, multiple totems, looks good. We have our dash worthing step, Val Molten Shell, spicy, I like it. So let's see, we have, let's put some wither stacks. We have a double wither totem, so I'm gonna put this at 15. Poison stacks, I'm gonna put this at 0, not gonna move it. Projectile distance doesn't matter. Aspect of the spider, we're using spider in this build as well. That means the enemies take 15% increased damage. We'll put this there. How many overlapping pods do we want? Let's set it to max right here, just so that we know what we're looking at. I was in full life. Yes, we are. What does damage on full life do? It's attack damage. More damage while on full life. Okay, gotcha. So this does scale our damage over time. Good. If this were an attack only thing, I would get rid of it. But because it's generic more damage, we're gonna keep it in. What else? You always have energy shield. Tailwind, fortify, elusive, consecrated ground, number 7 totems, top maximum. Let's see, what else do we care about here? We're not attack damage, we're not spell damage. We're Shaper Guardian, so this is the kind of damage that we're currently looking at, right? And we have 1 offensive flask. Am I missing anything? I think we're good, right? We don't have an offensive aura. So we're not using Malevolence. We only have enemies take 15% increased damage because of Spider. And then, honestly, for something like Mirage Archer, we should probably be thinking about like one of the alternate qualities. There's an alternate quality that says supported skills have increased skill effect duration. This Divergent one. Divergent's really good for Toxic Rain because that secondary or supported skills have more skill effect duration. Applies to the duration of time when Toxic Rain's on the ground, which is kind of like you can have more pods on top of your single target. So the Divergent Mirage Archer is really notable here as something that we can call out. There's some other ones as well. Toxic Rain, obviously you can get like something that says fires 2 additional arrows. 2 additional arrows means that you can have like more pods in the ground as well. Maybe you want some increased area to go along with it, but we can talk about that later. What else? We have Soul Strike. I like this. Soul Strike is one of those quivers that like it's just really, really good. You can probably get a better quiver overall, but it's very notable, right? Faster start of energy shield recharge combined with Wicked Ward. You used to see this a lot on CI or low life spellcaster occultists. Back when Wicked Ward was part of the occultist ascendancy. It drops a lot of damage, right? Remember, chaos damage to attacks, because we're not treating this like an attack skill. We don't care about the attack portion. We only care about like the damage over time. So the chaos damage to attacks here doesn't really help us. The energy shield, the faster start of energy shield recharge, the fact that it's even like a reduced recharge rate, but like it doesn't get interrupted. It kind of synergistic. So it's a good layer of defense along with some other layers of defense that we have from Transcendence, the Keystone. But we have to note, like, this is one place along with the Darkscorn where we're prioritizing defense over our offense, right? So I think that's probably something that we're going to see pretty often here. +1 minimum endurance charge, sure. We have a amulet that does not have +1 dex gems, does not have +1 chaos gems, does not have any dot multi on it. We have no dot multi on our gloves. Even though these gloves look really good, there's no dot multi on them. So there's a number of places in this build where we could have higher defense, or sorry, higher offense. We could have like better offensive scaling, better gem level scaling, stuff like that. But we've kind of eschewed that in favor of like rock solid, what do you call it? This word, defense. Thank you. We can take a look at the effective health pool down here. Our effective health pool, honestly, we've been talking about this recently. This is a little bit low. I'm gonna call this out one more time just for the sake of the clip that we're making here. So I think this got introduced during Harvest League, which is not a time when I was really doing much with PoE or POB. But for your own builds, make sure that you're doing this, right? You can use the Ehp Calculation Mode in the Configuration tab to determine whether you're looking at the melee damage, projectile damage, spell, or projectile spell. You can kind of see what are you worried about and what do you want to calculate your EHP against. I'm going to leave it on average here. So in your calculations, you can dip down to this. And like we have an effective health pool of 25k. So like our minimum hit taken, or sorry, maximum hit taken, we can take one big hit of 23,000 damage. And because we have so much mitigation, it'll be like we don't even die, right? So even though we only have 7,100 energy shield, we basically have 25,000 effective HP against one single hit. Let's see, power charges, endurance charges. We do have endurance charges, right? Yep, that should already be calculated because we have minimum +1 minimum endurance charge. We have no fortify. Let's see what else is in here. I think most of our mitigation is coming from Fizz taken as Ellie, Fizz taken as Chaos, Taste of Hate, and then the fact that we are Chaos Inoculation, right? I think that's most of our mitigation, if I'm not mistaken here. It looks about right, right? How realistic is the armor here, is somebody asking in chat. The armor is coming from our Transcendence, which is why it's relevant. It's coming from Grace and Discipline, and then we also have Iron Reflexes, so keep that in mind, right? This is a kind of interesting setup. We're getting Iron Reflexes from Skin of the Lords, and then we're using Stalwart Commander to scale both Grace, Determination, and Discipline, right? I think we have the Discipline as well, right? I'm not misspeaking. Yeah, we're all three of them. We're like triple dipping in our defenses here. So I think that's about it. I want to keep the clip nice and short so that I don't ramble on too much, but I wanted to point out three things. I wanted to point out the, I guess, interesting, and like, I kind of want to build around this too. This looks very spicy. The idea of using like Fizz taken as Ellie, stacking armor, using like getting Iron Reflexes, maybe getting a Skin of the Lords as well. It's like the only kind of way that you can anoint, so to speak, a keystone in the skill tree. I like this layer of defense. We're going to keep talking about it here in chat. But I wanted to talk about the armor stuff and Transcendence. I wanted to talk about the difference between like a hit-based poison thing as opposed to how you normally see Toxic Rain built, which is like only focusing on the damage over time and trying to treat it more like a spell and scale it with gem levels, stuff like that. And then I also wanted to talk about in the calculation tab in POB, I would recommend that you jump down here into the damage taken, down to where my mouse is here, the effective health pool, and take a look at the effective hit pool of how tanky you are against various sources of damage. I guess we can take infinite chaos damage, pretty cool. But like our fire mitigation is 277,000, holy moly. Our lightning mitigation is, or sorry, this is cold. Cold mitigation is more than a 1/4 mil as well. We have a 1/4 mil mitigation against lightning, and then only 27k. So we've been talking in chat back and forth about maybe trying to aim for 30k as an effective health pool. Maybe 20k effective health pool is like a little bit low. Maybe 30k is like, all right, we did it, we can move on to something else. And maybe 60k is like what you'd expect for a rather tanky melee character. So those are kind of the breakpoints that we've been chatting about. So I think that's about it. We're gonna call it there.